Chris Faraone here from Dig Boston, from Talking Joints Memo, all of the above. Repping with the Cannamaniacs. You know, let's do this. Let's smoke some weed. And the glasses are for multiple reasons, for the lights, and so I don't look silly at a couple joints in, you know. But yeah, like, subscribe, do it all, hang out.
Well, right now we are recording, and we are the Cannamaniacs.
That's cool. You know,
and you're here. I'm here. I'm Tash. This is the homie Benny right here. He's here.
What's going on?
We also have Chris Faraone. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
do people ever call you Faraone?
Well, I mean, we're here for a while. You have the time, right?
Do people call you that, Faraone still?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you know, it's an annoying last name because it's got that extra vowel and it's Faraone. So it was great for writing graffiti. I had like a literal natural. How many people have a natural
That's what I was
graffiti
saying.
name?
As a writer, you
I
just
wrote
love
Faraone for years. I also wrote Form, Form, in Queens in the 80s and late 80s, early 90s.
Queens in the 80s, dude. See, he didn't know. They don't know where this interview is gonna go. I'm kind of excited. Do you get interviewed often?
I don't do a lot of stuff like this. I'm responsible for everything that you say, everything that I say. I don't really care. It's just like...
So Chris is the guy who he interviews everybody and everyone when they're on the air. Like, and everything they say is kind of like through Chris's pen and his platform. So I can't recall that.
No, I mean, I do. I just did Jimmy's podcast recently.
Okay, all right, good. I mean, it's.
But you know, that's like not so free form. We're just talking about weed policy and stuff like that, which I'm happy to talk about. Actually, there's a lot of good.
We'll get there. We'll get there. What the fuck are you doing now? What are you doing now?
I
know you just had your fundraiser.
Yep, so we have a nonprofit, the Boston Institute for Nonprofit Journalism. We just did a fundraiser up at the Plywood Stars. I have a couple other things coming up. We have Jimmy Tingle's doing a comedy benefit for us and a couple other nonprofits at the end of the year. But really, you know, we're focused on a lot of weed stuff. I'm not just saying that because I'm on this podcast. That's like, frankly, you know, it's tough. It's a tough road or tough row, both. In journalism these days. So between, you know, whatever helps, so the nonprofit that gives us money to do a lot of the badass investigative stuff, the prison reporting, stuff like that.
Well, for people that don't know, like, I didn't really introduce you all the way. Like, who are you? You're like you.
I am Chris Faraone. I'm the editor of Dig Boston, I also the co-founder of Talking Joints Memo, which is a cannabis newsletter, soon to be a website in the new year. Also, right now the stuff we do for Talking Joints Memo goes to other sites. That's a separate thing. And then we have a nonprofit that helps us do this stuff in an era where, frankly, there's outside of cannabis advertising, there is not a lot of support. You know, it's the Wild West out there, but we survive. So, you know, today just posted a great article. I'm real proud of 3,000-word feature about these signs that this girl hangs all over the city. Just a classic dig piece. Something that exists in the world that everyone looks at and says, damn, I wish I knew more about that. But we actually took, you know, months to interview people and get to the bottom of it.
Investigative journalism.
And it doesn't always have to be Watergate. You know what I mean? Something like this is just fun. You know what I mean? This is literally a girl who posts these posters all around Alston and Cambridge, thousands of them that say, Stacy, don't leave me. And nobody knew what the storyline was. And thousands of people, some of the TikToks about just pictures of these things have gotten hundreds of thousands of comments or views and thousands of comments, but nobody knew who the hell was doing it. So we just had one of our reporters go and find the person. So just fun stuff like that. You know, that's a classic dig piece, I'd say.
So, all right. So like to the beginning of something, like being a reporter isn't like, let's say the most common thing that kids would want to be. You know what I mean? You probably weren't like, there probably wasn't a lot of kids that were like, I want to be a reporter. Is that like, how the fuck, you've been doing this shit for a long time. Like, when the fuck did you start?
I wanted to be a writer. I was like writing, and then I soon realized that, you know, like, you familiar with the term think piece? It's just basically just, you know, masturbation, really, you know, just polemics or just creative writing. That's fun and stuff, but I realized when I started going to grad school and stuff, I wanted to like write about something. You know what I mean? And like journalism is
that's that Tropicana cherry. That's that purple shit, like green shit. I mean the red shit there.
Journalism is like a medium. You know what I mean? It's not a thing unto itself, right? You're writing about something. So for me, I'm just kind of similar to you. If I'm interested in something, I want to be in the middle of it, right? So if that was hip hop for years, still, you know, I love music, weed. I don't just want to go to a dispensary and buy weed. I want to get a tour of the grow house. I want to, I want the whole experience. So it's really a voyeur's perspective. And then, then comes the justice-minded part of it with the journalism, breaking a lot of balls.
Because I was going to say, because I like knowing you in real life, like, I know you must, you got to do what you love. And, like, you love to, like, I don't want to say find shit out or, like, hold people accountable. I don't know what the fuck it is. But you love to twist, you don't twist the knife. It's, like, where it's supposed to be twisted. So it's not even, like, a bad thing.
Excellent.
It's, like, you got that thing about you where you're like, yeah, I'm going to find some shit out about this. And I'm going to make sure it's on the up and up. And, like, has that always just been something you've always just been like that?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I try not to be that much of a bastard. A lot of the stuff we report on, and part of it is because to avoid lawsuits, is not necessarily about individuals, but about institutions. I think, it drives me crazy to see people with nonsense conspiracy theories when, like, right in front of you, if you really care to look, there's just waste everywhere. And every year we point out, one since not far from where we're recording now, just a couple of guys our age whose daddy ran Charlie Baker's last re-election campaign, our outgoing governor. They got a contract for like $500,000 to do an advertising campaign telling people that the tea is safe to use and like a great tea. This is like while it was breaking down.
Fire and shit.
Yeah, and like, and so it's ludicrous on a number of counts. We asked, what did you actually produce? They gave us like 18 slides. They got $500,000. They did. I mean, me and you, the three of us, we could do this campaign. We could sit here before the end of the show and have it done. And it's nonsense like that keeps me going. And there's just a ton of it. It's like shooting fish.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of shit though. It's like I get myself into the same kind of trouble too. It's like that, like you can just everybody's like I don't like that, but you always got to do something about it. Like you have that about you, like, and it's a very good thing. It's an honorable quality to have. Like, it's like you just can't, like, And I can't
do everything. And also, the thing that I really love, and the reason we have the nonprofit is because we can drill down on, we can do, like, big investigative pieces and really, really take time with something. So I can't jump on everything that interests me, and I also won't go near something if there's a chance that the Globe or an outlet with a lot more resources is going to do it. Also, I can't be, neck and neck with somebody who's going to outperform, frankly. And even if they don't, it's just not the business I'm in. We like to do totally unique things,
Well, see, it's also where you are now. All right, can we just back up for a little bit? Because even before me and you met, where'd you start in journalism? Like, where'd you start?
Writing for Yellow Rat Bastard, YRB magazine in New York City.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from Queens.
Okay, so how long you been in Boston?
I'm 43. I've been in Boston since I'm probably for 20 years I've been in Boston.
Okay, all right.
And so, basically I was in New School studying just kind of like reporting, like just had a basically creative writing and cultural criticism. That's like a big, really super intellectual place in Lower Manhattan, and I just couldn't hack it there. So then I came up to BU for journalism school. And like while I was in school, that's when you met me. Everything I was like doing for school, I was also publishing.
All right, so when he was in school now, mind you. Now, you know what's crazy? So
graduate school.
What's crazy about this is you're going to like this. So me and Benny, we met recently through cannabis. All right? I mean, within the last year we met, like, and started hanging out. Yeah. Prior to this, the reason I hung out and met Benny, I hit him up because I'm like, you seem like a cool dude. We should hang out. Turns out, Benny threw a couple shows and has also been at a bunch of AWOL shows.
What? Oh, it's good.
But we didn't realize that. But we didn't realize that until I put up a fucking post of me wearing an AWOL shirt, and he was like, "Yo, how'd you get that? Like, I want to get one of those." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm like, that's me." And he's like, "Oh shit, I got a beard now, and I look different." You know what I mean? So it's like, so do you know who he is? He's Faraone from the Herald. So the reason how I met him, this motherfucker, I was like literally because back in the day, people forget that like you couldn't. Nowadays with the internet, you can just Google anything. But like your name was in the paper, but I didn't know what you looked like. So I had to like find him because
MySpace was probably coming out.
It was brand fucking new.
Yeah.
And like it was brand new.
I don't remember. We did message people. You did message people there though, right?
You did message people there, but I couldn't like all I knew was, and at the time all I knew was you had to be on the radio and you had to be in the newspaper to be successful in music or arts at the time, because
there was so recently too.
There was no other medium. Like you had to be in the newspaper, you had to be on the radio. There was no other way.
It's crazy.
So he was the writer for the entertainment writer, for the music writer, for the hip hop and shit, for the paper. So I literally was trying to fucking find him through Boston. I couldn't, when I was just on the AWOL shit, I didn't know what he looked like. I couldn't find, calling the paper, trying to get a description of the guy. Literally, I was calling, trying to find you, get you the fucking newspaper. I'm in line. Some chick's cussing him the fuck out. She's like, I'm in line waiting for Middle East, one of the lead shows. And he's in front of me getting, Chris Faraone, you motherfucking piece of shit. He was cussing you the fuck out. And I tapped him like, yo. And he had my CD already. And this motherfucker, and I got in the paper, and that was like fucking.
I always had a policy of listening to everything. You guys had some real good beats and tracks I listened to over and over. So you were standouts.
Fucking, but that was crazy.
I was always into the story. You had the whole thing lined up.
That's what we're doing now, is bringing that all back around. That's what this is. This is that.
Yeah, we starting a rap group. It was AWOL.
Yeah. All walks of life, baby. We're almost there. Fucking. But what's cool though about that is he was the writer for the Herald that you had to get even anyone to know. And I told you before, like we were all rappers in the 90s and the early 2000s. So like people, like your family thought you were a piece of shit at the time because nobody wanted your kid to be a rapper. Like at that time it was brand new, like especially like suburban kids. Like I was the fucking suburban homeboys. Like there was no suburban market for fucking rap scenes in Boston before AWOL. There wasn't. And fucking
Mike Styles is doing shit way before you.
Fucking
North Shore.
North Shore, North Shore, yeah. But we're from the South Shore, baby. We ain't from the North Shore. Fucking come on now. Fucking. So you had to be on these fucking platforms, and like this guy was the only time, like that week that you were in the paper, like your family was proud of you. Like, even though you were just a rapper, like, you weren't a piece of shit anymore. Like, they were like, fucking, your mom was actually like, yeah, my son's a rapper. Like, she would tell her friends that you were a rapper. But that was the only week. After that week, like, you were right back to being like, you need to get a fucking job and, like, you're a piece of shit again. But, like, that was the one thing. And he did that for a lot of fucking people. It was him and Van Styles. You know what I'm saying? That, like, those voices, Prime and Caro before him.
Yeah, I remember, especially in that era, hip hop, like, I'm not going to be that old guy who hates on. There's some new shit that I like, but at that time it was turning to a lot of like Purple City and just shit that was just off-putting to me. And so I was like, my whole thing was like Boston hip hop already had so much great music. It's not like I wasn't listening to national stuff, but you bet your ass I was giving it like as much respect. And the truth was, like, I'd reported in New York for Hip Hop Magazine.
Yeah, I was gonna we have to give people some of your credentials real quick because you're gonna go on a rant about hip hop. I know you.
Well, no.
It's okay. No, it's okay. I want you to.
I was writing for The Source.
Okay.
And a lot of other places.
Well, a lot of other places, as in like the Wu-Tang books.
Well, that's much later. That's much later.
He wrote the Wu-Tang books.
I've written like 6 books with different members of Wu-Tang, including the 36 Chambers reissue with the RZA, which is like this massive box set that has this like 100-page book, which is like the story of how it all happened. There's a new book coming out. I can't wait to see it. But I actually have an unreleased book that I did with Ghostface about Supreme Clientele, which I'm happy to share with any of you. I'll give you the PDF. It's beautiful, laid out by Alfredo Rico Dimas. But where were we? Oh, so my point.
But you have credentials, is what I'm saying. Like it's like when he goes off on this tangent, he's supposed to go on. Yeah,
my point was that I was happy to focus on Boston hip hop. I didn't feel like I was missing out on any big national trends. The rappers I loved, I would listen to them anyway, cover them when they came to town. But there was a lot going on here, and we treated it like a scene. And I wasn't, there was also Lauren Carter at the Attleboro Sun Chronicle. There were a couple other reporters, Marty, of course. So like I feel like we had a blog called Jump the Turnstile. We were able to do a lot of short stuff. So we were really just kind of getting on it.
That was you. I didn't know that was you.
That was Here, I'm actually good for a minute before I start talking in circles.
Fucking
Trees, DJ On and On, rest in peace, is a part of that. A lot of people came and went. We had a lot of just people who love to talk shit, and we published their stuff too.
Dude, there was a scene back then. It felt like I don't know what Boston hip hop's like now. If there's even a scene at all.
There's a pretty cohesive scene.
Is there one?
Oh yeah, I'd say there's a good 30, 40 artists that are really tight, and they support each other and go to shows. Absolutely. I will say that it is less inebriated. Okay. It's a little bit more serious and in a different direction, that they have really.
Is that good? Yeah, good.
Good. They've grown up and that they've realized you know, where instead of just complaining like a lot of old Boston rappers used to do, there's no industry here. They've realized if you want to stay in Boston, there's other things. There's grants, there's arts, there's like performances you could, you know, do rock the colleges. You know, people like Oompa, you know, she's now doing things at a more national level, but she does, you know, she does a lot of good stuff around here. You know, play Boston Cannabis Week, do stuff like that. So, and you know, even if I'd recommend anybody, the Boston Music Awards are tomorrow night. I would recommend anybody look at, you know, listen to all the artists who are nominated in any category of music you like. The hip hop category's got a lot of great shit, and of course, I will say,
Rest
like,
in peace.
like
Hefe Replay.
yeah, rest in peace, Hefe Replay. And you know, another good example of the work that the Dig does. You know, we ran I think it's like a 4,000 word profile on Hefe Replay, and about.
I don't even know. I'm sorry. I don't know who that is.
He passed 2 weeks ago.
I'm sorry to hear that. Rest
He's
in
a
peace.
you know, really talented artist. You know, friends with a lot of the artists who are blowing up, and he was kind of halfway there and doing his thing. Great performer, really great presence. And these are the artists who we try to really write about, even till this day, because when they go national, you know, we wrote an article about Millie's and profile in 2019, a real long one. Talked to people he grew up with, stuff like that. Okay, the life story. That article still gets more than 1,000 views a week. Why? Because Millie's, and this kind of was full circle to what I was saying, we always knew that a real standout acts, not just necessarily one, but can really lift the whole scene, right? Well, we've seen that with Millie. So I'm not necessarily that everybody is like in his crew that I'm also talking about, but just when there's visibility, when people are looking, and I'm telling you, as somebody who has the website that has these profiles on people like Cafe Replay, on Millie's, then people do come looking. People are interested. They want to know more than just what the Instagram photos is. They want to know about people. They can get that often through documentaries, through interviews. But if you're someone like me, frankly, I'm not going to sit there and listen to watch No Jumper for fucking 10 hours in a row. I mean, it's great. No diss on them. It's not what I'm into. I like long form journalism. I create it and I read the shit out of it. That's my hobby too. So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, I think, I'd say the scene is in real good shape now, and they've found out, you know, discovered other avenues. You know, there's more merch opportunities now than there ever were.
I was only just saying that we were trying to like create a scene, like, and it just being part of that, like being, what were we like in our mid-20s, mid-20s, like it felt like a scene. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it felt like when we go to all that shit, it felt like there was definitely shit happening and shit moving. Like I felt like if I stayed with that, I could have there was enough there to propel you to the next level. You just gotta
depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, you just gotta put your grind into it.
You know, and listen, you know, Leeds really brought a lot of shows to town. That makes a difference. And it, you know, whether it was like a few of us writing about the music, Leeds doing shows, Detention doing shows, you know, that makes the difference. It's the initiative. You know what I mean? You know, it's a business initiative, not to knock that, but you know, my point is that somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to get out of bed and fucking get Cormega up here.
Well, he loves
Cormega.
I was gonna. I know I'm surprised you brought it up this early. I was gonna fucking bring Cormega up because when I bring your hip hop credibility up to everyone, because honestly, this dude does know a lot about hip hop because he's written a lot of the fucking books. But his favorite rapper's like Cormega. One of his favorite rappers, Cormega, and we fucking. That's just come on. Let's just be serious with this shit. Before we get into that though,
he's probably my top. I'd say he's a top 20 rapper for me. He's not like my top rapper.
He likes Cormega at like a fucking like a amount you should not like Cormega. Like
Cormega's fucking not only is Cormega amazing, but in a different way than the trap rappers do it. He was
he's
kind of
better than that.
No, my point. No, my point. He's one of those guys who really just says ill shit, real ill, like obnoxious. Like
he's kind of a trap rapper. No, that style that he has is
he's
kind
the
like
original gun rapper. I mean,
that's
little guy, big gun. I mean, all you know, these kind of there's
not even on beat,
no
like
Benny
a little
without
offbeat.
Cormega. He was just a monster, and also let's not forget that is like the real. That's whether it is a bad trope or negative or whatever. Never, it's not my fault that. This is in hip hop till this day. I didn't make it. I didn't break it. But the narrative of being in jail when your fucking crew blows up. I mean, Cormega and Nas makes Macho Man versus fucking Hulk Hogan look silly. You know, that is the greatest rivalry, but true brotherhood. You know, and listen, everybody knows Cormega is not Nas, but
Iliad.
But
no,
without Cormega and the kind of that heel role. AZ at Nas's side, these are the things that keeps the man on his toes to the point where he puts out an album this year that has, I read 800 words. that he's never used on any other album. I don't even know how that's fucking possible.
Now, see, like, once again, now, like, this is why I fuck with Chris. Like, and I fuck with Chris anyways. Like, I've known each other for a long time. But you're smart on that shit. And this is what I'm talking about, the shit you love. Like, you love that. Like, you have to be such a fucking nerd for this shit to love. And I love that, too. I'm like, because, like, fucking, like, he's writing the hero story as a writer, talking about, like, you're writing that from Nas's. I've never looked at Nas. It's like a Western. You just, like, described a Nas Western, is what you just did. You know what I mean? It was kind of fucking cool, like with his heel on him, and then his like AZ on his side, like, you know, like have to like that was like a fucking novel. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't really look at Nas like that, but through your eyes, I can see that because that's who the fuck you are.
And then one of the Nas is just such a layered rapper that like even I was listening to Represent on the way over here, and to the fact that I've listened to that song, that was always my favorite song on Illmatic. I've listened to that song like 50,000 times. But in different contexts, and when you read more and learn more things, and you hear little things, and that he's always, throughout Nas's career, kind of always kept that pupil role to Rakim, right? And says things, like Eric B's man, like what is it? Move and I'll shoot you, that kind of always. So he always had this like perfect place in hip hop where like. He's not claiming to be. It was always maybe even a safety thing, and I think it's why people, normal people, prefer Nas over Jay-Z. Besides the fact that he's a better rapper, is that he's humble. Jay-Z, who the fuck was he? Came out of nowhere. He's like fucking Nas, second day in hip hop. He's a fucking
that humble
king.
Though.
What?
Nas isn't that humble though. I mean,
come on, man.
Compared to Jay-Z in that light, I
Jay-Z had
guess.
Big die, and when Biggie dies. Jay-Z gets to kind of step into that spotlight and really claim this crown, but Nas always, Nas would never tell you he's the best rapper. He'd always say Rakim.
I understand that, but then you listen to his records, and he's talking about I'm the fucking best rapper alive, and suck my dick, and I'm cut up like a fucking bag of dope, and dude. Fucking I know, but that's like he's not humble. Like,
one of my favorite means. One of my favorite Nas tracks.
He's in videos.
Jay-Z's been grinding since Big Daddy Kane days.
Yeah, I mean, and wearing the same outfit in those early pictures, right?
That jacket.
I think, but Nas, one of my favorite Nas songs is Stay Chisel with Large Professor.
Oh,
fucking amazing song. But that's really one of the most probably. Actually, that's more of an educational.
Just the fact that he got to work with like the fucking like X, like the X clan of fucking like the X team of fucking
all the great
producers.
They
all
were
the X-Men,
Yeah, and the way history tells us.
So didn't you write some linear notes to one of his albums or some shit?
Yeah, I wrote the liner notes for the Universal reissue of like their Best of Nas thing. It was nothing, it's not like the most spectacular occasion, but it was cool. And Nas's team, I who knows if he actually saw it. I like to think he did. They did approve it with very few things, and basically just they needed kind of like I'd say it's like 800 words, and I'll never forget. I wrote it. I was on the road in Oregon chasing down these fucking crooked judge in a town where there's no police, literally. You can still read it. It's called Oregon Tale, and like I get this fucking thing, and they needed it like 48 hours. I'm in a hotel room. I'm like scared out of my mind. I pissed some people off, and I'm like writing. I'm like listening to Nas, drinking beers. It was like something I was actually thinking about that recently. But yeah, I think it's the Nas, like the Universal years. It's this nice red 2-disc set.
Oh, you tell that story in the notes?
No, it's not about me. I think I actually tried to include a short bio and they cut it. It says Chris Faraone. I got and the most recent one I did is the Cypress Hill. The 30th anniversary of the first album, which is also one of my favorite albums of all time. And that's a book. I interviewed lengthy interviews with all three guys, and they just re-released it again. Beautiful giant album and stuff.
How does that shit like? Well, I want to know two things. Like one, like how does that make you feel? Like just knowing that people that you had their posters on their wall when you were a kid, they're fucking calling out for you for your like opinion and your journalism. But also like, when was the first? How did you make that jump from like beat writer to like all of a sudden you're writing fucking Wu-Tang books? Like,
it's really not as like honorable as I'm sure I've let off to be, but and listen, it is an honor, but there's a couple of things here. One is that a lot of those things happen. Gotta give credit where it's due. It's through Traffic, a Boston area company. Traffic Entertainment, also Get On Down. They work hand in hand. up north, right north of Boston, and they are the company that does a lot of these reissues, right? And it also so happens that there's this amazing cadre of like historic hip hop journalists, Brian Coleman, one of my mentors, Dart Adams in this region, right? So they had, reached out to some of us, and then next thing you know, there's a lot of these things coming out. So we grab them as they came. But I will say the other thing though is that I'm serviceable. Wu-Tang, with all the most love in the world, is just huge pain in the ass. Nice guys, but really great guys. But they're famous, they're busy, and people like Ghostface, they intentionally bust balls. Like I can't tell you what it takes to get an interview with Ghostface, even when you're writing a book with him. So I could go on and on. It's always name dropping sounding, but the stories are hilarious. They never end. But I wrote an article for Esquire about how that's part of the Wu-Tang mystique, not just getting back to everyone the second they call. You can't do that. And Static Selector said something like that to me a long time ago. He's like, I'm not just doing every show. I'll come out once a month. Like maintain that kind of. Where were we?
Just you.
Oh, so basically doing those books, I think is the fact that I show up. I don't bust balls. I don't make it about me. I think that's a lot of journalists don't realize. Nobody cares about. I've written articles like that, like the Esquire one, about my experience with Wu-Tang, but it's not about me. These are really, they're really oral histories. I'm taking all of these different parts. I did one with Nonfiction also for their album. That's one of the greatest ones I did. Did one Pete Rock and CL Smooth, and I'm really taking the time. And people always ask me. I know now it's not controversial, but now it's different. It's not. I was never a really critical hip hop writer. I guess I was. I was critical of like mainstream shit, like Kanye West and stuff. But now it's unusual for a white critic to be talking shit about black music, okay? And I still, till this day, people find reviews I did, which is kind of funny. I got totally fucking ran off the internet 2 years ago for something that somebody dug up that I wrote about Kanye West 20 years ago. And you know what that was? I had fucking called him out for stealing Pete Rock's drums, and he told me, fuck Pete Rock. I don't remember exactly what it was. He like wrote it off.
I just think it's funny
and
that all this shit.
And people were like mad at me, and now look at Kanye West. But I don't think anybody would be mad at me for dissing Kanye West. But
who else is gonna diss Kanye West over Pete Rock's drums? Like
it wasn't the drum. It was the fact that he said, "Fuck it, I can steal Pete Rock's drums if I feel like."
I get it. Just the fact that that's where you drew the line in the sand. Like, all this shit. You know what I mean? Like Kanye can do all this shit, but like Pete Rock's drums, motherfucker. I have to defend that.
That was like
I
jump the
cannot.
turnstile.
Yeah, I cannot say
some
shit. I have to fucking do it. But I didn't mean to cut you off. But it's just funny.
No.
That's where your line's fucking like. Kanye says a lot of shit, but like the Pete Rock drum thing, like fuck that. Like I'm gonna fucking. I was getting all the questions.
I got all the questions in at a Monster Jam, I think, and
well, that's
out in Lowell, I believe it was.
You're playing it down,
something like that.
But this motherfucker, man, he's playing it down. Like, and he's a smart guy. He's not an asshole like that. But you're a journalist. Like, you'll ask, like, you're in it. Like, he's getting his hands dirty. Like, and that's his job. And like, you know what the funny thing is? Like, knowing you for so long and just knowing you, because I know you from a couple other things in like real life and all this shit too, and then seeing you at events, and you being Chris Faraone from the Dig, and all that shit, and watching people like just it's almost I reminded me of like Commissioner Gordon or some shit. Like everybody comes around the corner like all partying and shit, and then they gotta say hi to Chris. Like, oh, hello, Mr. Faraone. How you doing, Chris? Nice to see you, Chris. Like it's all like, and you can see it there, like kind of on their
funny
behavior.
I try to be not. I'm not grumpy, and I can't.
No, you're
but
not.
I am in real life, but not to people.
Not what I mean. What I mean is like you're the guy like that has the paper. You have a fucking newspaper, so you're a fucking editor of a newspaper. People have to not only have to respect you, they should respect you, but also like you control some of the media. So it's like that some of that old school shit. And they're of like, oh, I watch them straight, like I see it. I watch them like their actual body fucking posture straighten up, and like I laugh about it. I'm like, because you're Chris, and like you're like fuck. I know how you are.
It's an interesting space because it's like slow and steady. Doesn't win the race, but hopefully will still be around is my motto. Because the truth is that like we don't have the bandwidth to like do. I mean, there's so many things.
Oh, you're talking about the Dig.
Yeah, well, the Dig and all the projects I do. Look, you have a podcast. It's crazy. How many? What am I supposed to be on every social media? This and that,
it's crazy.
Posting everything, and it is just nonstop. So for me, it's like it's almost. Sometimes, listen. Of course, I wish I was like the more popular. I wish I could. The Dig back in the day, we could, if we fucking snapped our fingers, we could fill, the Middle East. Things are different now. We're not a heavy influencer. We can get you. We have some weight, right? But we're not. We have less influence on Instagram than a single person taking pictures of their asshole. And I gotta say, do I never get mad about that? Of course I do. I'm a human. At the same time, I don't, because that Instagram is not something you own. Like we have a bigger body of work, and ultimately that's like take the Millie's article and the Hefe Replay article, for example. Nobody can take that away from us. That is something, or from the community. That is a body of work that is on a WordPress site. That is not fucking Facebook's not going to decide. Now to give us $100 a week to leave this shit up. No. So unless the internet completely runs off the rails, people will be able to see this stuff. Not to mention all the print stuff that we put out into the world.
Well, I mean, as the news, you're the news, so you're also, that's doing a service to like future generations and all that shit. They can go back in your archives, and you're fucking literally like taking notes on what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, first draft of history,
which is an important thing. As you go back in history, a lot of shit gets lost. That's an important thing as it is, but also like when you have those catalogs and stuff, like even us, we don't get a crazy amount of views. What if we have like fucking 200 shows before we start getting 100,000 views, and those people go back on the first one? They always go back.
That's it.
That's it.
So that's a test of time, and like even I've seen. I'm trying to think of who was I watching? Was it Bakari Kitwana, a great writer who's getting interviewed? It was Ta-Nehisi Coates. It was like 7 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, getting interviewed at BU, and this is like one of the greatest writers of his generation. He's a little older than me, but I guess my generation too. Started at an alt weekly in Washington City paper, and now is written for the Atlantic and many books, but said. He's like, yeah, I'm talented, but they're like, what's your secret? He's like, I'm talented, but I just never stopped. He goes, look at all the other people I started with. This one's in public relations. This one works in Hollywood. Not like people have regrets, but he's like, journalism is a motherfucker to stay around in. Yeah. And for me, if I didn't have all these other, I sell, I'm a vintage magazine seller on the side. I also, we do the nonprofit. I do the weed stuff. We have a lot going on. And then I'll do some, you name it. I've done. The places I have found myself in, writers' rooms and this and that, it's always been interesting. And I've, of course, put books out and done projects like the Wu-Tang thing. I wish I didn't have to do so much, but I probably would do it anyway.
Why not shift to video? Why not shift to podcast form? Why not, because the world's moving
I'm not
that
way.
I
do more. We're definitely doing more and more video, especially on the weed front. Just shot of, doing like one dispensary or grow a week or every other week. Just trying to. So that's the answer. And it is something that I do. Also on binge side, we're working on a documentary. I don't want to talk too much about it, not because I don't want to be that guy, but it's basically about public housing in Boston and Charlestown in particular. Mm-hmm. But that's a significant project, so we're doing that the right way.
You always do, like, you're one of those dudes too, like when I
doing that with Johnny Hickey, I'll also say.
There you go. Fucking, like, you're thorough with your shit. You're someone who, like, anything you do, like, you love doing that shit.
Yeah, and I also like to finish, you know what I mean? So, like, that's the thing, like, there's a lot of things, I'm happy to admit the things that I didn't, I did
Tell us all the
I had this brilliant idea that people were going to pay, like, $400 a year. Tech millionaires in Boston were going to pay all this money to me for a pocket magazine that looked like Frank. Remember the Frank magazines?
No.
You have them, the little Frank? You don't collect those?
Frank
anyway,
magazine?
Cool little pocket magazines.
You hold on. You just said you don't collect those? Like,
You're the first person a lot of people do.
I'm the first person that you've met that doesn't collect pocket magazines.
No, you'd be the first person I would believe that would.
Oh,
you love them. Each one had like a curator. Like
I thought you were saying it like it was like a common thing. Like I'm like, I've never heard of that in my life. What are you talking about? No.
Anyway,
I get what you're saying. Okay.
Have you heard of them? You remember those Frank magazines? No. Anyway, I thought it was like a tech magazine called Boston Bubble, where I just shit all over the tech industry, and nobody was interested.
Maybe it was like too early for it.
I just think that they're so used to getting smoke blown up their asses. There's no time for fucking self-doubt, and that's why we are where we are with the tech industry. I'll meet people at events who, maybe it's just my ignorance. So, but they'd be like, yeah, I've sold 4 companies in the past 5 years. Like, Exhibitor, Vanguard, like all these fucking things. Like you never heard of any of them. They start with their friend's dad's money. They had an idea. They literally never profit. So forget about the real business world. There's a world where you can actually just do something and then sell it off without ever having fucking proven that you have it's just outrageous, and I'm just not that lucky. I'm stuck in the fucking old trenches of the media, and that's fine, I'd rather earn my living.
I feel like that I just feel knowing like that's what you are, dude. Like I think that people would be uneasy if you changed. They'd be like, "What the fuck? Like, why is like if you weren't like in the trenches, but you could be in the trenches with video."
Well, I can. Oh no, dude. I'm not reluctant to do video. We'll do more. I will say one thing about video, and this is with all due respect to you. Have a team here, right? With all due respect to like video editors and stuff, I am so committed to getting money into journalism that I started a nonprofit with my partners to get that, right? So I don't want this to come across like I'm trying to fucking get cheap rates from people, but I can't express to you how aggravating it is the amount that video editors want to edit a lousy fucking hour of footage. It's crazy. So I can't pay that. It's completely out of budget. It would never balance. There's never ad revenue that could balance out paying someone $500 to edit a 5-minute video. So, I'm sure, next thing you know, you're outsourcing to India, and that's not a joke. That's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah.
And so what I'd rather do is maybe work to a point where there's somebody in-house that does maybe 1 video a day, 1 video every other day, quality. But we are doing more. I edit them. My partners edit. One of my partners is John's a sound engineer, so we have done some podcast stuff. But we're just figuring it all out, and I will. We've also. On the nonprofit side, we're big collaborators, and even on the for-profit side, with the new Talking Joints Memo website, it's going to have 3 video slots at the bottom, where I'll be putting your stuff, I'll be putting Jimmy's stuff, I'll be putting basically.
So we just dropped that right there for everybody. I mean, you can definitely you'll be able to find us. We'll be working.
Yeah, TalkingJointsMemo.com. So we've always had the website, but it's just been a place to sign up for the newsletter.
That's what we're saying. More. That's what I mean. But that's what I was trying to get towards. And I don't even mean just us. I mean, there's a community of people because you already have the infrastructure. Like the people out there that do this, that do what I'm doing right now, that does what Benny does, what Chris does, Like, get in touch with this man because you need content and you need This is the Dig, dude. This is a Boston institution. This is someone who gives a fuck about it. This is someone who wants to do the real shit. I am fucking thrilled to have our shit associated with what you do because it's just even knowing you as a person, I know what kind of motherfucker you are, and you're not a bullshitter. You don't fuck around. We want someone like this to be I don't want to say controlling the narrative because that's not the word I'm looking for, but whoever owns the media does have the kind of final word in the say of that. So it's it's good when you have someone with integrity that wants the people to grow.
I really see the Dig especially as really it's sure I'm the guy who's got to deal with paying the bills with my partner sometimes and stuff like that and collecting money, whatever. But it's really I can be frank. This is not a huge money-making operation here. We do okay with cannabis ads, but it's a community thing is my point. It's a community project. It's short of somebody bringing some hate-filled nonsense or just poor writing. We run tons of op-eds, community op-eds. So long as it's something that our demographic will want to read, totally fair about it. And the other thing is on the weed front, I'm not here swinging hammers, man. We're not doing puff pieces, but other than there are things that are just great. It's a product. What am I going to do? So I'm not on the weed front. What do people want? They want to know about products. They want to know about events. They want to know about jobs. And sure, I just want to give real quick 2 big headlines.
Okay. Well, I just want to say before you get to that, before the weed thing, if people want to do, you said you run op-eds and stuff. If people have ideas and they want good writers and you want to write something, is there a place they can send their stuff in? Will you see it?
info@digboston.com. Just info@digboston.com, and that's send press releases. Well, we have a lot of things where
anyone's looking to get into writing and shit.
Yeah, I mean, and that's pitching stories. That's always welcome too. Not really this time of year, but in the new year for sure. But basically, I mean, whatever you have, and also like I said, op-eds. If you have a nonprofit, if you have a some kind of initiative that's going or something important that people should know about, and you want to contribute something, we could tell you like what the parameters are and stuff like that. But yeah, that's how, because listen, there's just so little
every bit
journalism
counts, man.
now,
Every bit counts, man.
Yeah, and then on the weed front, like Talking Joints Memo has always been its own thing, and then published through the Dig and some other places. But I'm just glad that it's going to be its own site now. And
you said you had 2 headlines or something.
Oh yeah, I just want to give an example of how, like I said, I don't want people to think we're not doing heavy investigative reporting in cannabis.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean we're not doing important reporting. Last week we broke 2 important stories. One, that Massachusetts is now allowing for pesticides in grows, in cannabis grows.
That's not a good thing, right?
It's not good or bad. We have questions out, talk to different people, but it was a huge disadvantage for outdoor grows, and
Okay.
And pesticides aren't like inherently bad, but I'll let the experts talk about it. And also, but what's more than good or bad is it's just kind of interesting as to why. It was basically
you grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is that good, bad?
I don't use it during flowering.
I don't know what the fuck that is.
Flowering, like when it's budded, like when the buds
you only have
are
it
actually-
only beforehand.
Yeah, only during vegging, like.
Is that pretty
before.
standard?
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
What do you think of but like on a commercial scale?
Oh,
Do you think they'll be better off, or they're gonna over abuse it?
I mean, it's dangerous when you're getting into commercial because you don't know where the source, is. So it's like everything's in that room is contaminated. So it's like you pretty much have to go but I mean, when it's in flower, that's dangerous, man.
I honestly don't know. Like I don't know shit about growing. I don't know shit about any of it. So
It's a good thing you have a weed podcast.
Yeah. Well, no. Well,
You know tons about it. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, you know what though? It's all. I guess I do
The
compare to the regular.
science, the science.
But no, it's even like because I'm talking to people that like fucking like make strains and shit. So compared to them, I don't know anything. So I guess compared to other people, like it goes in that direction too because you're surrounded by experts.
Right.
So you think you're not, and then you talk to regular people. They don't understand anything. But point being is, I would think that on the commercial scale, it's always worse. Like when you're talking with someone that's dealing with I like knowing people that grow the weed so I can call them and ask them. It's not that I always do that or anything, but a lot of the weed, not that weed you're smoking right now, but a lot of the weed that I smoke, you can definitely call the person that made it and fucking ask them what they put on it.
I'm interested in larger trends. We did a story about outdoor grows, right?
Okay.
There's 17. I think there's 17 of the 90. I don't even want to screw it up, but that was down in Wareham, the grow that does the sunflower number 9 joints. And basically, who else? I like doing we're looking at people who are just manufacturers. There's not too many of them, so who don't own a store, right? We've done a lot about delivery. Oh, and the other big story last week, of course, was the ATM and the ATM debacle.
So tell me, I saw the headlines of it, but I did not look into it. So
this is
can you
the
explain
biggest
what it is?
nightmare for dispensaries. So I actually just heard from one dispensary today that it is really happening. They are shutting this gambit down. Anybody who's been to a dispensary and used a debit card, you're using your debit card, sure, but you're not really doing a debit transaction. What you are doing is an ATM cash withdrawal. All right, that is why.
You get
but the
dollar
withdrawal
back,
goes into instead of you getting that withdrawal, the withdrawal goes into
escrow or something.
Tertiary account or whatever it is. Okay, a depository account, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. It's totally not on the up and up. No matter what anybody tells you, I'm not dissing anybody who did it. I just don't want there to be any confusion. It is not okay because. The people who are servicing those machines are not the people who service the credit card machine over here at the 99. Okay, they are, or for those who don't know, at a restaurant. Okay, it is actual. They're people who own bunches of ATM machines, and then what they do is they batch the. Oh, by the way, anybody who's done this transaction,
shit. I think where you're going with this.
Anybody who's done this transaction knows that you then get the change. So if you spend $16, they run $20 on your debit card, then give you $4 in cash back, and then that $20 goes into this depository account. Problem is, that is technically money laundering, as it turns out. giving you that $4 back. Don't worry, people. You're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna get it. Go to jail. They would have to arrest half of Massachusetts. But so think of it now. What they're doing is so some of those guys who run these ATM networks, they blend those in. They basically, does this sound like laundering money to you at all?
Yeah, no,
So
it already did.
So they
it already
blend
did.
those in. So they don't run them. They're not running $20. They run 40,000, twice a week.
And it's not like it's a regulated bureau that's doing it. It's just guys.
It's guys who have. So the idea is the more.
So if we started an ATM company, it could have been us.
It could be you, and
Yeah.
the idea would be the more ATMs you have, the better you would be at this.
Well, yeah.
But they are now, and I don't want to screw this up.
That's crazy.
Basically, yeah. So now the pressure's on
How the fuck?
The federal government is basically finally.
So is that because at the very beginning banks wouldn't touch them, so they couldn't get legit ATMs? They had to have these fucking weird
So banks.
You see what I'm saying though?
Banks,
Like
this is since it's not the Wild West. So every bank transaction, these banks are based in other states and everything like that, right? So money can't. The federal government has these basically like sets of guidelines which say weed is federally illegal, but if you are in a state that has legal weed, you better fucking follow these commandments. Two of those commandments are, basically the most important things here are that weed doesn't cross state lines, okay, and that money doesn't cross state lines.
that's the real
And
important one.
that's what gets screwed up.
Right.
And so basically.
So why at the beginning didn't they get these regular ATMs? Why get the weird ones?
Well, they don't. It's not an ATM.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so like instead of like you're saying that these people they didn't use like a federally regulated like ATM service.
It's not it. No, there's no. These are just local.
That's what I'm saying. So why not just?
Because nobody, dude. You don't when you.
That's what I'm
nobody
saying.
touches that with a 10-foot pole.
That's what I'm saying. Because nobody would touch. That's what I'm trying to get at. So they had to use some guy that was like willing to take the risk of using.
I own a nickel and dime newspaper, and I won't do the
Yeah,
risk.
I get it,
won't
so.
risk. You know what I mean? So like.
So some like Russian dudes. I'm just using the word Russians came in and built an ATM network just to get this thing funded and off the ground, and now this finally coming
I
in.
honestly,
I
that
getcha.
is the depth, and I'm not that I'm not avoiding insulting Russians.
But
it's probably not good practice, right? But I don't know that much about it, or like what comes first, the chicken or the egg. I just know that it has always been the fucking oddest thing to have the person like handing you. I guess you can get money back at CVS too. I don't know if that's money laundering too, but cashback. But I think it's different. But basically, if you're going to a dispensary, bring your cash. The dispensary is looking more and more like the trap house every day, I guess.
yeah, I don't know. This legal weed isn't all it's cracked up to be. You know what I'm saying? Like at all. It's like
it's imperfect, but there's 1,500 edibles I heard on the market right now. So
1,500.
I heard 1,500 SKUs. I mean, I don't know that officially. I just heard that from someone.
That's everything about that sounds
And
crazy.
that's SKUs.
SKUs. Speaking of which, I brought
that's
I brought a couple interesting. No, I'm good. I brought a couple interesting things. So first of all, this is for you. This is from a new dispensary in Somerville called The Goods, and that is a Dana Wolf. I know you collect the arts.
Yeah.
That's a Dana Wolf. He did some stuff. He did a mural in the store, and they sell trays.
Dopeness.
That's for you. And then
Fucks with it.
this I'm just brought to show off. I actually smoked all these joints, but I just think this is one of my favorite. Just because listen, let's face it. We're at a point where weed is not necessarily weed, but I'm a big packaging guy too, right? So this is definitely one of my favorite products of the year, and the joints did happen to be excellent. I'm not just saying that; they were real nice cigarette rolls with exposed leaf on the end, which you don't see enough of, I think. So, but they're called trail sticks. I think who makes them? I think maybe Air Wellness, and check it out. So they come. I think there's 7 joints in here, right? Nice sized joints, but then it's got matches and a strike pack.
Yeah, I see that. That's
Definitely one of my favorite products of the year. What else? And then I brought, and then this. I know you cook a bit. you could take some of this, but I need to take the rest because I want to try it. This is from Bountiful Farms, which is the always winning.
We're gonna have them on the show.
And this is their collaboration with Plant Jam, which is David. I don't know how to pronounce David Yuseveda. I'm probably mispronouncing his last name. But I'll make up for it because I'll say he's a true genius. It's Plant Jam is a company behind Cloud Creamery.
Okay.
And their products are just outstanding, right down to the packaging. This is porcini mushroom seasoning, which is this is where we are right now, which is really cool. So let's get a.
I think there's a little.
You gotta hold it up a little longer. Takes him a second there.
Like right by your face.
And he got it. 3, 2, 1, boom.
Uh,
What is it? Oh, it's like seasoning for. It's like Old Bay or something. Oh yeah, it's like some kind of shit.
and so this and the other thing that's interesting about these is besides the packaging is just amazing. And I guess I forgot it comes with a little spoon. So you might ask, how is it possible that this exists? Because this is how many milligrams? I think this is 100 milligrams, right? So it's basically like salt. It's porcini salt, okay? This is weed salt. 100 milligrams. Now, the law is that a serving can only be 5 milligrams. And this is what really screws us with drinks, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm following you.
but this, they did it, the same company, a different collaboration that Bountiful Farms did with Andy Husband's, their barbecue sauce. Basically, they give you like a scoop, and that scoop is your 5 milligrams.
That's how we're gonna be doing the food at our shit too.
Smart. And then
That way people can kind of, if you're someone who wants to get the fuck into it, you can get into it. If you're someone who can't, you don't have to.
And then, have you ever seen one of these? I saw you. What were you holding before? It looked like this. Is it this one?
Crave.
Oh, interesting. So what is that? What's that? A loose leaf? Oh, it's nicotine.
Yeah.
So does it have a?
No, pod no.
So this is an interesting product called the Hue.
Got that hue. Hue.
It's small, and it takes these little hockey pucks. See that?
Okay.
It's like this little hockey puck of
It's
weed.
like hash.
It's weed. Yeah, it's not hash. It's weed.
Yeah, but it's like really condensed and engineered. It's not just weed pressed up. It's like really a recipe, and they have different ones. It's more of a product. It's a session vape, so you don't hit it hard. Yeah. But the reason I want to show it to you guys is because it's like it's not something that it's really I wouldn't say for grandma, but for really a discreet smoker. Maybe a sorority member whose friends think it's icky that she gets high or something like that.
Yeah, that's like that new shit.
But
right
here's
there.
a little lesson in this. You ready?
Right.
So it doesn't produce a cloud, so heads are not going to like it, right? But it gets you fucking wasted because the science of it. I'm totally going to butcher this. Is that basically like the particles are smaller and they get into all your mucous membranes around your mouth.
Easier.
They absorb right in, whereas like a smoke, I guess, would go down. And let me tell you, man, interesting little. I feel like Pee Wee Herman at the gift shop. You know,
Fucking
the big ear.
dude, everyone's always just so high on here, anyways. Everyone's just like got this big smile on their face and like, what was I even talking about? You
get a lot of that?
Oh, that's all it is. Fucking. So, dude, I remember I asked you a long time ago, like, what one of your most like when you're into the shit, one of the most moments where like you were fucking uneasy with stuff, and you said that I think you were in Queens, waiting for Ill Bill.
No, it was in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, yeah. So that was you smile. So you were saying like, cause he's investigative journalist.
No. I was just.
I'm not saying
I wasn't doing investigating.
I know that now. I'm saying, but you've done some shit, and like that, you were like, yeah, I didn't feel good about that one.
I mean, I don't. From what I remember, and I just, God bless Bill. I worship Bill and his brother Necro, and of course, I wrote the nonfiction book with Bill years after this incident, which you don't bring up with Bill because. But basically, it was like I went to interview him for his solo album, What's Wrong with Bill, at a show at at Southpaw in Park Slope, right? And man, the whole crew was out, like Mr. Hyde, the whole thing, and he it was the craziest thing. Like he was so volatile that I was like, hey, a little nerdy me. I'm like, I'm here to do an article about your solo album. And he got mad at me because I wasn't writing about the nonfiction album. Like that was like the beef. And I swear, my partner to tell you, she was there. He was going to kick my ass, and somebody came in and was like, yo, Bill, we have beef outside. And he literally went outside and put his fist down someone's fucking throat. He just needed to get out of his system. He's totally fine after that. Killed, great show. Can't get me out of it. Couldn't, even the threat of a fucking beating couldn't get me out of a... I mean, Necro, who's, I want to say, of course, they've done a lot of great stuff together, but separate from Bill. I mean, I don't think I've ever been to a Necro show where he beat the shit out of at least one person in the audience, and boy, do they want it. I didn't want it. A shot from Bill is a fucking something you deal with for your entire life. But anyway, great guy, and I'm much more relaxed now, though not on record.
When you when you started doing this whole thing, and it started to pick up a little bit of steam and traction and shit, what was the moment, the interview, the moment, the time, the place that you were like, holy shit, I'm actually doing this fucking thing. This isn't a hobby anymore. This is really me.
I guess that's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to kind of flip it a little bit, but I will say that's, especially since we're in Massachusetts now, my interview with Terminology was a life changer for me. All you guys were really about your stuff. I'd never met somebody who had really given everything else up, except for their kid. And he was always a good dad. Always good dad gang, even before before the hat.
I love
right?
the good dad gang.
But I could bring a tear to my eye. I mean, I went go to this apartment, and it was like, I don't want to make let's say the ceilings were like 5. Like I was ducking. Like only Terminology could walk around in there, and I'm not it's true. Like he'll say it himself. Like it was in the article, and I'll never forget, man. The whole crew was in there. He has every Source magazine, and it was just an investment in craft that I'd never seen. And it also an indie hustle.
Shows.
We really take that indie hustle for granted now. I'm not dissing people who are doing it now, but what he was doing back then, he's put out like fucking more than 50 albums, I think, right? And he's always been on that, and he's, so that showed me, and I've actually written about this in a piece on Medium about 10 experiences with different rappers. That one was life-changing for me, and I guess it is answering your question, because for me, that was when maybe I had realized it was serious before, but never after that did I ever, even, not that everyone's as serious as term, but just the respect that I have for someone in their craft, and just that put them on that pedestal, that platform, because they deserve it, because that's a lot of work to record.
But you're as serious as term, and with your craft, and you've been doing it for just as long as term, and I've been in your house, and I've seen the fucking stuff. You literally collect magazines. I've seen you brought me through your house, and you were showing me how proud you were of, dude, I didn't give a fuck about. He's pulling these episode 1 of this magazine. I'm like, I don't fucking care, dude. He showed me 10 of them, and they were dope. Don't get me wrong, but it's who the fuck you are in your blood. You know what I'm saying? Do you realize, do you ever take a step back? And I know you're a humble dude, and it's just the way that you are. You're not gonna. You've never taken credit for this shit as long as I've known you. Do you ever just sit back and know how many lives you've affected and changed? Are you proud of that shit?
No,
you just laughed.
Of course I am. Of course I am, because I wouldn't listen, man. It's not always easy to pay the bills, so there's got to be a payoff somehow, and that's what it is. That and free weed often and stuff like that.
Yeah. But you've made a difference. If you were to ask Terminology, if he'd tell you that when we were at George's rehab opening, George said right to you, he's like, I want to go do this movie right now. And he's like, you're part of my story. You are a big part of my story. You know what I mean? Talking about Slain. When Chris is a big part of my story. He legitimized between you and Ian. You guys legitimized my dream. All of a sudden I'm not some fucking idiot that's I'm making this up. No, we can actually really fucking do this. You know what I mean? And we're still doing it now. That never died. You know what I mean? But you make a difference in a lot of people's lives. Like every time I'm with you anywhere, has nothing but respect across the fucking board. Like you've read his articles. Like all of us have. And like back then, dude, you had to like wait until Sunday came out to get the news for hip hop. Because there was no fucking blogs. Or you waited a month for the source. That was it.
And I'll say, and it's sad that now there's just it's cliche almost, but it's like we're so oversaturated. But at the same time, there's nothing.
Nothing.
Where do you go for your local hip hop stuff? I mean, props to Billy Vega and to the Crypt and those who've been literally doing it, Dart, who've been blogging for 25 years. We're fortunate to have people around, and I'll say like it's really crazy. There was a time I was never a big message board person, but for those who were, think about even like that. Those communities.
That wasn't that long ago either.
No, those communities are kind of gone, and it was really short lived. We went from great long form journalism, but with a lot of gatekeepers, to kind of like having a lot of shit and a ton of blogs and a lot of action, to really very little now, and it's sad. Except there is social media, but to each their own. It's not the same.
Of all the things that you've done and been a part of through your whole run, like what are you the most personally proud of?
When we took over the Dig. The Dig owed about $77,000 to writers and editors in back pay.
Okay.
Not including what I was owed, which is more than $20,000, which I'm not complaining. That wasn't factored in, right? So we paid back. It took years. But even though it wasn't our debt, we were also writers who were screwed. We paid all that money back. And that's on the for-profit. On the Dig side, simultaneously, we started the nonprofit to raise money to keep journalism going, even though if it's one article at a time with people who do it. So you asked the question, so I'll answer it. I try to be more humble than to always put it straight like that. But the truth is that I was writing books. I was doing a lot of more exciting stuff, and it's a lot of it was me retreating. I was an early victim of right-wing trolls. I wouldn't say hopefully not a victim, because I fucking fought these motherfuckers back. But it's not a healthy way to live. And I have a kid now, and that.
I remember when you were going through your angry phase.
You can't
They
be
hold too much space.
Well, first of all, on the left, people, for better or worse, they don't form gangs. You're on your own.
Yeah.
You're on your fucking own. Mm-hmm. And on the right, somebody could be like, this guy's an asshole, and 10 million people attack me. And so I'm like, you're just on your own out there.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy. Also, like physically, who knows the dangers that lurk, and you can't live like that. That's the reason Andrew Breitbart fucking died of a heart attack after I got into an argument with him. True story. Look it up. I killed Breitbart. So part of me doing all that stuff I was talking about was because Jesus, to be in the fucking maintain a national profile as a reporter or whatever is absolutely grueling. You turn into a face on MSNBC that is just unrecognizable. It's like, what are you doing? I just didn't want my career to go there. I can always do that shit. I can always go and write books. I'm only 43, I think.
What do you want to do next?
I want to make this documentary. I want to make a big documentary. That's the extreme from going from not doing much video to it. I, of course, won't be holding the camera. This is going to be a big effort where I'll be in the writing, in the writer's room. But that's the next big thing.
Is that what you've always wanted to do? Just write? At the end of the day, it's always writing?
No, because it's got to be about something I enjoy.
Okay.
That I'm interested in. I've said it a million times, and it's true. I'd work in a restaurant any day before I wrote about medical devices. I don't care about writing that much. In fact, I never complain. I do around people I live with, but I try not to complain out loud, because there's people who they make more money than me, but who move bricks for a living and have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Much respect. And everybody I know works in restaurants pretty much and stuff like that. So they actually work for a living. I pound keys. I try not to complain.
You're really good at it, man.
Sure, I appreciate it, but it is a fucking hassle.
Well, dude, I know. Dude.
I can't take it anymore.
So I hate writing.
Oh, do you?
I hate it.
You write for hours at a time.
I know, dude, but like, same thing though. Like, I
Yeah.
dread,
Yeah,
dread,
that's
dread,
where I
dread,
don't,
dread,
yeah,
dread.
I don't dread, but it's just.
And then but when I sit down and do it, once take, do it out, put it through spell check. All right, we're good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I got it, but it's in me.
Let me tell you, I am a creature to the to-do list. I make one and I'll do it, and if I don't, I can procrastinate for months.
Look at my fridge.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, right? It is the cheapest, easiest,
There's 3 to-do lists over there.
dumbest thing, and it's really, and I've kind of, but I'll intentionally go off it for 2-3 weeks and just kind of.
You gotta fucking get it right.
And sometimes I'll just, have a mental leave and just play video game hockey on my phone and watch Perfect Strangers.
Dude, you're always traveling, man. You're everywhere. Always.
I get to go, and because we've helped start other nonprofits around the country, I've gotten to. Actually, I just got to speak in Denver to the National Association for Hispanic Publishers about them selling weed ads, which is not as easy. They're great business people. They have a lot of avenues for getting. They have great relationships with banks and stuff. You ever picked up a Spanish language newspaper? There's just it's a newspaper, so it's similar, but there's a lot of just things you wouldn't always see. The things that we pretend we made up in like fucking white media, they've been doing for years. Community engagement, stuff like that. But they're not taking weed ads for not conservative politically, but conservative like church going people conservative, right? So there's been some reluctance, but I was out there to kind of tell them how to get that money, baby. And I don't think all of them will, but certainly some will. That definitely, there's not a lot of money in journalism, but if you play your cards right, and I don't mean in the sleazy way by doing junkets, I just mean by, speaking at conferences, sometimes chasing a story, sleeping cheap, couch surfing, and I have friends all over the place. But I am able to get out. And with weed, everybody's, we're talking weed, everybody just goes nuts about it. MJ BizCon. I will end up going one day to the giant, Super Bowl of weed, but I got to say, if that's going to cost you like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to go there, you're so much better off doing 5 trips one to California, one to Oregon, one to Denver. Right. You will meet so many more fucking people because if you're not, and I'm not, the person who anybody's going to MJ BizCon to want to meet.
Yeah, exactly.
I maybe have some problems here, but not in Vegas, right? Yeah. So I'm just going to be another business card in a stack, another person annoying people, but you can, kind of things you do, you go out and actually form relationships with people, visit. I'm going to the North Shore of Massachusetts, not exactly far, but in early January, I'm going to spend a night, and I'm going to go just visit a bunch of cool dispensaries and grows up there. And that's more valuable, I feel. So I don't know where I got on that tangent, but
no, it's part of what it is.
Weed traveling, yeah, that's right.
Well, no, I mean it's all relevant and stuff because I mean at some point in time, like I all the time like we just had someone with a Super Bowl ring sitting when you're sitting. Now we're sitting with the editor of a newspaper. Like, dude, I'm just talking. Like, I'm so ecstatic. This is my fucking job. Like, at some point in time, you gotta like this. Your job is to like. To do what you kind of love to do, like you're kind of just Chris Faraone for your job. You know what I mean? Like that's like I get that you do a paper, but like you're kind of just Chris. That's kind of like what you do. Like
my old editor from the Phoenix, editor from the Phoenix makes fun of me. He'd be like, sometimes he'd send me a picture of the Dig, and he'd be like, Chris, I don't know who else gets to like print up 40 pages of whatever the fuck they want, and like print 35,000 copies of it. Unfortunately, we don't get to do that anymore. The price of paper went through the roof, and we don't have the steady advertising. But it was about time we went digital anyway. And the newspaper is, I miss it too. As you know, I'm a collector, but I can't bear burdens for.
I have the last.
I can't
ones.
carry what the one. Oh, do you?
Yeah, I got because you kept dropping them off and shit. Everything you dropped off, I always kept.
Cool.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I mean,
you know me. You know I keep everything.
Yeah, and I can't bear crosses for other people. I've already do this journalism, and the industry that's just print is. I just feel. People don't move the way that they used to.
Do you know I still have the Herald thing hanging on the wall?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. I gotta get you to sign that fucking thing before we leave. Everyone else already signed it. Fuck it, but you probably don't. Do you see shit like that ever again? Like.
Yeah.
People, because people still have those, because that was like an accomplishment. Like there's a lot of people that was their biggest accomplishment. Like, and I'm not saying that to like talk down on people or talk up to you. I'm just I feel like a fucking act, and it's a hard. Only so many people got to do that. It wasn't like it was fucking.
And
easy.
the other thing was like just that kind of back to that thing of the articles about Millies and Hefe replays that people just, even if it's like years later and they want to know, I found an AWOL song, I found a Rip Shop song, they want something more than that horrible little thing on Spotify or whatever
Yeah.
that says like the basic bio. And I will say, sometimes those basic bios even get stupid things wrong. Somebody, I think it was like Billboard got wrong where Cousin Stiz was from. And they said he was like from Roxbury, from Dorchester, I think. And why is that? It's their fault, bad journalism. But frankly, it's because they hadn't read our article, and or maybe we hadn't done our feature yet. Whatever the case, it's kind of crazy. We're talking about Boston hip hop, like these guys, and no diss to the guys that we came up around. These guys are way bigger. Even like Michael Christmas, who is not as big as Stiz, but it rolls with them. He's bigger than probably, maybe not Slane, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not trying to compare people, but my point is this. Acrobatic probably had 10 profiles written of him before his second album, and that is not a hyperbole. Probably the Herald, the Phoenix, the Dig, everybody, Perception. I mean, God, 10, who knows how many. And then years later, we're at a place where Millie's has his billboard in Times Square, and nobody, and one article, one long I don't think, and I could be wrong about this, I don't think the Globe has ever done a profile on Millie's. I stand corrected. I'm going to look it up as soon as I get home. But I don't fucking think they have. If they have, well, I don't want to eat my words. But I'm talking about a real, warrants, right? Yeah. That's how fucking asleep at the wheel.
He's come a long fucking way.
Yeah, he's grinding.
I mean, and not to mention, if you're a journalist, is there better fucking stories than Millie's? Are you kidding? I mean, watch one of my favorite Millie's songs. Is that Strawberry Goya joint? Oh, what a fucking, and it's like his life story basically. And like
the Celtics too are gonna go back to the finals this year.
Yeah,
so
I heard about that. That's a big thing. That's a big part of the Millie's mystique, right?
Oh, so you don't know anything about that?
No, I know he's sidelined. What else?
We him and Jadakiss are sidelined at all the games and shit. So they're on like so everyone's like, who the fuck's this white guy with Jadakiss? They don't know the fuck, and like it gets play because you know what I mean. And they're gonna go back this year, and he's going back this year.
Jadakiss can't be a Celtics fan though, is he?
No, but Jadakiss is Millie's guy.
No, I know he's a mentor. No, I just was wondering,
Yeah, I mean, I think it is because they know Paul, because they wear Paul Pierce. It's like Paul Pierce, Millie's, and Jadakiss.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hanging out hanging out courtside, like fucked up.
A lot of hip hop.
Yeah, fucked up. Yeah, fucked up.
I don't want to talk about it on it, but that's actually quite interesting.
Well, that's like
the story of the fucking. I don't want to get.
No, I mean, the story of what? I mean,
Paul Pierce getting shot and everything, and I'm just trying to think of
stabs. You know what I mean? That
stabbed. My bad.
Fuck it.
We were talking about that earlier.
We were talking about that earlier.
That's how shit gets blown up. No, I won't talk about.
No, we'll pass on that anyways. Fucking. Well, no, because the thing
I already fucked up what happened to him, so I don't think I'm good with the details. It's a little rusty. Next thing you know, there'll be car bombs going off and shit.
I want to know the best show you've ever been to.
Oh, great. One that always comes to mind, and this is not the answer. I know you're going to make fun of me. This is just one that just blew me the fuck away. Is Wise Intelligent at the Middle East Upstairs. I just was going, this, of course, from the Poor Righteous Teachers. Yeah. Those who know hip-hop know this is one of the greatest rappers of all time, not someone to be ever tested. I mean, a fucking absolute wordsmith. I mean, a poet extraordinaire. A bit hyperbolic in certain conspiracy theories. Nevertheless, I went to see him, and first of all, it was a ton of people there, which was just great to see, and he just killed it. Have you ever gone to a show and seen somebody just like fucking murder, like 25 tracks in a row, not miss a beat? Unbelievable.
I saw Jessie Reyes at House of Blues, and I'm not like a huge live performer person. Jessie Reyes, she's a singer, but she does like a little bit of everything. And it was one of those things, for what it was, she had the whole entire room in the fucking palm of her hand, and she just, I walked out going like, wow, she's a really good fucking performer. Like, she knew what the fuck she was doing. And I know it's not what you're looking for, I just went to a show like that. I saw Drake do that too at BU.
Chops.
I saw Drake do it at BU, and I was impressed by it's when Drake was first coming up, and we were doing security for Wizard and shit, and we were the guys. We happened to be the stage people too, so I was on stage with them.
Funny.
And it's hilarious.
I didn't know you worked for Wizard.
Yeah, everyone did.
Yeah,
I did too.
Did you too? Everyone
worked
for Wizard. Yeah. And fucking, I seen Drake do that BU, just control the room. I knew he couldn't see the people either because I couldn't see them, and he was like, "Yeah, you girl over there in the white," and I'm like looking, I'm like, he can't see nothing, and she's because we were on stage with them, on the sides to make sure people would come up. And fucking, he killed it. He made the room feel like.
I've never heard. I heard one Drake song ever in my life.
Odyssey.
I believe
no,
it.
It was 0 to 100.
Odyssey was the dude that I was.
Oh,
just
Odyssey the
like,
rapper. He's
Yeah.
coming to town, isn't he?
Yeah.
Did he do? Is it next week or something?
I know it's coming up soon. I know it's like in the
Dude,
next.
Odyssey's a
couple
fucking
weeks.
genius,
my
man.
God,
He's got
he's so
He's
dope.
amazing. Yeah, he is that
I
good,
saw
isn't
him
he? Yeah,
at,
I've seen him. I saw him at
Middle
South by
East
Southwest
Dance,
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But I want to give one thing that not the best show I ever saw, but one thing that always comes to mind, and there'll be I'll inject a little bit of exaggeration to the story, but you'll know where it is. But it's all true. I'm backstage at like one of the Jammin' concerts. It's like it's the T-Pain era, and T-Pain's the big headliner, and Chameleonaire, who is one of the best live performers I've ever seen. He is also back there, and there's like 5 people who hadn't gone on yet. And somebody from Jammin' comes and they go like, the sound is off. We have the mics working, but we need like 20 minutes. Can anybody come out and like rock, like basically a cappella? And the exaggeration is like, that's when T-Pain like jump behind a fucking, T-Pain jump behind a partition. Chameleonaire man stepped to the plate, went out there and gave that crowd the best part of the show. It was just absolutely unbelievable. But
He's an
best
underrated spitter.
best show I've great rapper. Best show I've ever seen, because it's, and obviously there's part because you can't beat this era, part because I was a kid, part because these memories just last in your brain. But was the Fugees at the Smoking Grooves tour.
I was there, yeah.
I was at the Garden State Art Center one, and at one point this Wyclef is rap. I think he's rapping "Staying Alive," and he's bending over, and a dude grabs his chain, big chain he has right on him, and the security pulls him up, the guy out of the crowd. And he's got a mask on, and they pull it off, and it's Praz, and he grabs the mic, and it's just the crowd's like, and at the same day, like Erykah Badu, nobody had ever heard her. She got out there, and a fucking single woman.
Weren't the Black Eyed Peas in that tour too when they were before
I don't
Fergie?
think. No,
that was before Fergie.
I'm not trying to be cool. If they were, I don't remember.
I think.
But
I love
a
Erykah
single
Badu.
person. I've never seen a single person bring a person who nobody ever heard of, bring a crowd to their knees with Tyrone. It was magic, absolute magic.
She's
Never
incredible.
forget it. And of course, Cypress Hill. But just true memories. And then, but I could go on. I mean, it's been to thousands and thousands of shows.
The only I'm thinking of with the Erykah Badu shit, you must know the story about Tracy Chapman and fucking Nelson Mandela's birthday. And like that was one of the first times that like pay-per-view was like, it was like the biggest at the event. It was in Wimbledon. It was in South Africa. Had the biggest like amount of people that ever been in one place for a concert at the time. And it was on pay-per-view. So it was one of those events that you had to call in for pay-per-view back then type shit. Right. Tracy Chapman was an unknown. And before the Rolling Stones went on, like right before the end of it, the Rolling Stones were going to headline, the fucking power went out. So they had to have someone come on with an acoustic guitar, and Tracy Chapman being
Really?
no one knew no one knew no one knew who she was.
Well, except who did know who she was everybody around here. She went to Tufts. And
yeah,
she was playing the Cantab Lounge.
But watch that.
That's great.
There's footage of it. Obviously, you can watch it. It's dope. Watch fucking the Revolution. She comes out and sings Revolution in Fast Car, and no one knows who the fuck she is. You can see them kind of. And she's singing Revolution to South Africans at Nelson Mandela's birthday as an unknown while people are waiting for Rolling Stones. And she takes the fucking house down. And it's just like, that's a fucking gangster-ass motherfucker right there. With an acoustic, because she's the only one that
Rolling Stones, that's like Rock's version of like opening for Wu-Tang. You just get
exactly.
shit thrown at you.
Yeah, no, exactly. And she killed it.
I saw a group called Apollo Sunshine open for the Wu-Tang at the Worcester Palladium once. You were probably there. And the crowd was not having it. This was like a rock band. I actually interviewed them about it like 10 years later. And the guy, the lead singer, threw a basketball into the crowd. They always did prop stuff. And he put his arms like this. And he goes, I'll make you a deal. If you guys can, I won't move. You get my face at the backboard. If you sink it. And let me tell you, the crowd spent the next 10 minutes destroying all their equipment with the basketball, like gunning at guitars, the whole thing. And it is one of the most ludicrous stories. It turned out that they were friends with the booker who called them like that day and was like, dude, I need someone to like open for Wu-Tang. They're not going to get here at 12. And they're like, sure, that sounds fun. Worst experience of their fucking life, man. Although they made the best of it. They're always a funny group of
You told me a story once about, you told me like half a story about fucking Lil Wayne.
Oh, come on. Don't make me tell the
You don't tell the Lil Wayne story, right? But like, you got to give us, before we go, you got to give us, like, in your travels and your shit, you got to give us something.
I just think the thing about Lil Wayne is that he's like, now that like Kanye is an example of like being a fucking ego, like megalomaniac gone bad. Wayne's like the example of a megalomaniac gone. He's never really fucking threatened anyone but his own health. You know what I mean? But this guy, I don't know if it's only when he was around reporters and I spent probably like 4 times with him. He is it's like, this is unbelievable. And somebody's got to act like that. Bob Marley, from what I'm told, behaved like that. Just like totally crazy. Like slippers and, you know, girl on each arm.
Who's the guy with the aviator?
What?
That guy, Howard Hughes? Oh, no,
yeah,
you're talking about like straight, like fuck
Howard Hughes kind of shit, you know. One time when they were doing the lugs thing, they had a guy who was with them, and everybody talks about Snoop with the blunt roller. Everybody used to have blunt rollers, and they had one who would just roll like one into the crowd. They had a 40-person entourage. They had but I swear, a flatbed, one of those like hand trucks, but the long ones, with like 100 pairs of lugs for one photo shoot. How many fucking pairs of shoes are you gonna wear over here? They had, the thing the story that always comes up is that he
a flatbed truck full of boots.
Because they're from the South. They had
yeah.
gotten, in New York City, they'd gotten all this Southern food.
Okay.
And from some shitty fucking New York Southern food place. Wayne, like nobody can eat until like him and Baby have eaten. And like, so he goes through the line finally after like we all, from what I recall, like starving. Has this big plate of food, takes one bite of the food, turns around. Now he's got all these reporters there. It's a press junket, right? Turns around, yells, "Yo, who the fuck made this shit? Martha Stewart?" Throws the fucking plate of food, covers the fucking wall, the window overlooking the West Side Highway in macaroni and cheese, and then turns around, looks across the fucking, I don't know who he's talking to. It's assistant, one of many assistants, goes, "Yo, bitch, go get me some motherfucking Chinese food. And make sure they don't forget the ketchup this time." And this is just par for the fucking course, dude. It was just par for the course. And you know what? Because someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. Wordsworth wasn't going to act like that. You know?
No.
One of the great,
so, yeah.
you know, but, and,
you got some shit.
And Wayne, by the way, I was thinking about doing this, although I don't know if I want to get into it. Like, I was considering giving Lil Wayne a chance. I was considering listening to all his albums. I don't want to ask people's opinions of where I should start.
I've almost thought of it, but I don't think that's
because
I'd be interested to know.
Here's the thing about Wayne. Like, I'm sure he's learned in his own.
Do you listen to Wayne?
His earlier shit.
His earlier shit?
Yeah.
You what?
His earlier shit.
Like with like the first Carter album?
Yeah, Carter 1, Carter 2.
So what's he, like 19 when he's recording those?
What is it?
I've never listened to a Lil Wayne album.
Let me tell you, the thing about Wayne is this,
Block
man.
is hot.
I'm happy
was
to.
What? He was.
What the fuck is he rapping about though? He's famous since he's 16.
Yeah.
He's not like some voracious reader. Everything I've ever heard from him is trite.
His wordplay.
So he took Gilly style.
Gilly the Kid.
Yeah,
that's
and
fine.
Ran with it.
That's style, but he was making 120 songs a year. What the fuck are they about? This is what I know.
So I mean, all right. So he had a run from Dedication, mixtape to about, I want to say, I don't know, No Ceiling, right?
That's
that
an
was
album.
Just like, yeah, No Ceiling. Well, it was a mixtape. So he just had like a run of like crazy mixtapes.
But he invented the mixtape. Used to have a definition before Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
He was the guy who was putting an album out every week.
Right.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
It was crazy. Like he made an incredible run, but it was all like his metaphors were like literally keeping.
It was poetry. So I want to diss. Yeah, I mean, it was.
He does have some cool his features and shit every now and then. I'm like, you can tell the guy has some talent.
I love that J Rock song, "All My Life." You know, that's
yeah.
And he's so my opinion is like this. Like, I just don't like to fall for it because he'll say a lot of shit, and I don't want to spend too much time overthinking something that he just fucking pulled out of his ass.
Dude, we gotta get off my lawn, hip hop motherfuckers. Because I don't want to invest my time, and then like, okay, like I can only listen to like the thing once. Like, you know what I mean?
He's not boring, and that's one thing. There are these great rappers, like, you ever heard like Viro the Virus? He's dead. He's like the king. Of,
Jesus
he's like the
Christ.
king. He's like the king of New Jersey underground from like the 90s. He's unbelievable and talented, and Snow Goons did some shit with him. But he's so perfect that it's like after like 10 songs, I can't listen anymore. You don't get that with Wayne, and that's why he always excited people. And listen, man. The other thing is, as a hip hop reporter, sure, if I was reviewing albums, and I was always critical of Southern hip hop, I was a real prick. But as far as like, I never had any question as to why the famous rappers are the famous rappers.
Yeah.
It's Leor Cohen, the current president of Warner Music, former guy who ran Def Jam.
The Israeli that runs hip hop.
Right. Yeah. Yes. He said to me, I said, how do you pick them? He goes, I've never picked anyone. He says, how have you done this? He goes, I just find them and go on their magic carpet ride. He knew Foxy Brown was it from the second he saw her when she was 15 rapping. He knew, you name it.
Yeah, but okay, so all the shit that you've seen and you can't tell
What?
like when someone has it. And
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
it doesn't matter who has it. My favorite rapper is probably like skills-wise, is like Quell.
But I'm not saying that. But I'm saying
Like,
the
does that matter to
superstar level.
anybody? Oh,
No,
superstar level.
I'm saying superstar
I
level.
can see it right away.
You can see it right away,
Oh,
right?
forget it. It takes 1 second. The game is a really good rapper, and he's getting better, which is kind of interesting. But he's somebody who a lot of people never understood. I was like, you got to be an idiot. Just first of all, he's a great-looking guy, and bring the game around any girl, and they'll just melt. So that's your first thing. He's also like 6'3". He's got charisma. One thing I don't know if people realize about rappers, I think like 80% of them were like great athletes. They're tall, like they're like the high school, the high school alpha male.
Do you know when you go to LA how everyone's like 6'4" and
it's
like,
outrageous. Well, that's because it's the high school captain of
everyone's.
It's the captain of every football team in America now showing up there, and every cheerleader squad. Right?
You got like fucking guys that are 6'6", 250 pounds, fucking rollerblading and shit. And you're like, what the fuck, dude? They coming by you 30 miles an hour, like boom. You're like, oh, this motherfucker hits you, bro. Yeah, huge.
Huge as shit.
But yeah, man, fucking. So, I mean, you've just been doing shit forever, and now we get to the point to just bring it back to cannabis. Like, you remember when you couldn't even talk about cannabis?
I mean, I'm not that. I mean, no, I don't go back that far because we always did. The Dig always did. We were the ones that did.
But you know what I mean. But it was counterculture to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling somebody, reminding someone today, the Boston Globe, which after legalization hired 5 reporters, they're down to 1 to cover weed, but they had campaigned against it. They actually editorialized against recreational cannabis for whatever dumb fucking reason, and that's just how fast things change. So, but the people before me actually, had their offices raided years, in the 70s and stuff. They really paid for our sins. And High Times, I don't think people realize how tame we are now. If you go back and look at High Times, Head magazine was a fucking coke. It was basically, they reviewed fucking blow.
Yeah.
They reviewed blow, like things that would seem so out of fucking bounds now. And frankly, we need the education now. People die from fucking doing blow. But I don't think people realize. Everyone thinks there's so badass now and this and that. It's like, yeah, Eminem says outrageous things, but so did Blowfly. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, history repeats itself.
But even Eminem's not even outrageous anymore.
Oh, I know.
But that's the
sure.
point.
Yeah, that's the point. Right. I mean, although, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, where depravity lied, but I just mean, like, with the weed stuff, it had all been done.
Do you think it's better now, though, that it's more accessible and open, or it was better when it was more underground and OG real shit?
I hate to get woke with it, but as a fucking white guy who is like basically fucking talking about white privilege. I mean, how many times have you ever been fucking arrested for smoking weed in the street?
Oh, I've been in jail for weed.
Really?
Yeah.
I have two. I have two, but for having a lot of weed.
Yeah.
I was arrested for something else, and I had weed on me twice.
I was arrested twice for like less than a gram of weed.
I know, but did you?
And I was arrested for a lot of.
Well, I don't want to get into it. But my point is this: I smoke weed every fucking day of my life. Yeah. Everywhere I go, I stink like it.
Yeah.
Now I don't because I vape mostly, but I dab mostly. But every time I ever went to a mall, every time I ever went anywhere, but that's mostly before I had a kid. My point is, so first of all, I would never fucking sit here. I don't care about how much I like or dislike dispensaries. Not my place to sit here and when fucking millions of people have gone to jail and say that legalization. Yes, of course this is the right move, but beyond that, I think it's just a long time coming. I don't want to have to face like the fact that my father had to worry if I accidentally said that my father was smoking a fucking green cigarette, that child services could come around and fucking separate us because we're working class, and so I don't. The fact that I don't have to worry about that, the fact that just way less people are going to go to jail, and I'll tell you, it's not over. The fucking fight continues. The DEA still lobbies against. There's a reason that cannabis is still Schedule 1 controlled substance. And that shit is still going on because jobs have to be protected. Now, that's not conspiracy theory. That's just straight reality, man. And you just look at overinflated police budgets. You look at how they're still fucking doing this,
Yeah.
They're still putting the weed out with the fucking $100 bill. I don't know if you've ever seen the memes of some of those.
Oh,
Dude,
man,
the best thing are the comments.
Oh,
the comments after those are the best. They're the fucking best. Have you seen that? Look at that fucking color of that shit.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Every chance, fucking
Jesus.
yeah,
Beautiful trim, huh?
not bad.
Wash.
Perks of the job.
Yes, wow, that's really purple, man. Jesus Christ.
It's like a reddish hue. That's what I'm saying. Like before, like having that out would be fucking like crazy. That's legal. That's less
Yeah,
than,
and
that's,
the
that's
law,
legal.
and it's a pretty
There's
good
nothing
law.
illegal with that. That's
No, and
it's
it's
less
a
than
pretty
for
good
ounce of the weed. Nothing illegal with that.
Yeah.
We're fucking good. That's like what's crazy. I mean, we've come such a long fucking way. I mean, you're in a unique position as well because right now we always say that like there's only 3 places in the entire world that cannabis is legal. And it's California, the middle of the country there, Denver and Oklahoma, and then us, Northeast. And like you have, I mean, it's even Maine doesn't have the reach that the Dig does. It's not really legal. New York doesn't have their shit together like we do.
Not yet.
So it's like we are it. We're the next.
Masses. We're in the right place, man.
We're in the right place. We're at the right time. Striking one of the iron hots right now. We could really like. I don't want to say gatekeep the trends and shit, but like make sure the culture's like in the right fucking hands and shit like that. You really we hold weight right now. You know what I mean? People putting work in.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm kind of like I kind of approach like say the product stuff the way I would like some music is like it's not necessarily that I love it. I'm just explaining it to people because otherwise you're fucking lost in the darkness, right? There's 1,500 edibles. What does it taste like? How big is it? The generic product descriptions don't necessarily do the trick. So even just like we get explaining to people the difference between live resin and live rosin. And different really cool devices to dab. Like as somebody who dabs a lot, I have like a graveyard I have $1,000 worth of broken dab rigs.
Yeah.
And now I have this $20 solution called have you seen this thing? It's called the connector. You just screw it onto a 510. And the optics are not great. It looks like you're freebasing, but basically, but you get the full, the connector. You seen this thing?
Nectar collector, yeah.
I think it's like that. It is. I think is that the same? This is called the connector.
Right.
But I think that is similar.
Yeah, just
and this is like, and you you put it in like a glass dish or whatever, but you get the full flavor. It's like it's fantastic. But just assisting people with stuff like that. I mean, I've stolen stuff from you. I've written about Yocan devices a million times, and that's certainly an interesting company. I just love staying. I wouldn't call myself a gadget geek, but when it comes to weed, I certainly like all the cool stuff.
Fucking, what do you see as someone who's had like their finger on like the pulse of just kind of the trends and stuff like that?
Yeah, well,
what do you see coming next, like with cannabis? Like,
well, I don't want to take too much credit because the pulse is really just you can go on the state data site and see what's sold. And I was just looking at the numbers. Pre-rolls are by far the most booming category. They went from 77 million from November 2020 to 2021 to 220 million in the following 12 months leading up to now. And that doesn't even include infused pre-rolls, which is a separate fucking category. That's how popular pre-rolls are.
That's crazy.
So that means a lot of things. That's why we took a look at outdoor grows. A lot of outdoor weed test as high, if not higher in TAC than something that looks that beautiful from an indoor grow. I assume that's an indoor
grow.
So that's ideal for a pre-roll, right?
Yeah.
So other trends, I think that you're going to see, I think dabs are basically going to become, either go back underground or just be, maybe dispensaries are going to stop carrying dabs as live resin cartridges get better.
What I think is crazy is when you
as
leave the state of Massachusetts and you don't go north, start going south. People don't know what fucking dabs are. Like it hasn't
because
really
not,
reached.
Well, unless you're hanging out with fucking degenerates. I mean,
Yeah, it hasn't really
a
reached.
dab. Dude, a dab is not for normal people. It's for superheroes. I mean, a dab, dude. Everybody has the difference between like everybody has that
Dabs
story
are
of
for
their.
superheroes.
The thing about dabs is everybody has that story of their first dab.
Oh,
and they called in
man.
sick to work, basically, right?
Yeah.
Or even to like family dinner.
I was
right?
in a mirror telling
But some
myself
people
I'm better than
stopped
this.
doing it, and the rest of us can like started wearing them around our necks.
Next, yeah.
So my point being that I think we'll always be there to a certain degree. I don't think they're going to disappear, but which I'm just talking about realistically. It's simple. That technology was jamming up cartridges up until now. They're finally figuring out. Fernway this week put out what is going to be, because their products are always the hottest products, so they're excellent. A live resin cartridge that is a knockout, and the flavor. The big knock on them is that you don't get the same flavor. I think the flavor's there for this one. So I don't, they'll dab. Listen, hardcores will always like dabs, but I think if you're dabbing that much, you're already getting your stuff from on the gray market or the black market or whatever you want to call it. And I'll just give you like one more trend is just cool stuff. I think this week alone, I'm getting some salt. I just showed you weed salt. The ice cream stuff is really cool. Hot cocoa is on the way from Mary Med. Speaking of rest in peace, Bob Fireman, who just died this week, an absolute legend of the weed industry, and fucking pioneer, man. And I did interview him, really good guy, had a lot of good predictions, and I'll be writing that up on the Dig later. But yeah, Mary Med has some great products, by the way. I really recommend. Oh, and I'll say that as a general end note on that. I think that middle ground is so flooded of so many products. Some are good. You got to know what you're looking for. That's why we do the reviews, right? But that higher tier, shit like you're getting from Bountiful Farms and stuff like that. Yeah. And yes, most of it has impressive packaging. Whether some of that's just hype or not, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see. I mean, there's some brands that are really just knocking my socks off. I mean, the Plant Jam chocolate bars are unbelievably delicious. I mean, not your average chocolate bar.
Fucking. All right. So last question before we go, because I got to know. We need to get the drop on this, right? People that are intermediate hip hop people, intermediate, not beginners, not pros.
Okay.
People, one fucking album for the intermediate people halfway through. One album they got to listen front to back. That will bring them to the next level.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't have told me you're going to ask me this question before I showed up today?
No, come on, man. Let's do it. You're the guru, brother. Come on.
Kanon, the Dusty Foot Philosopher.
I knew it was going to be some fucking shit. I don't even know what the fuck that is.
Kanon is the truth in every way.
I don't even know what the fuck that is. K9, the Dusty Foot
Kanon,
Philosopher.
K''N''A''N. He was a Somalian refugee.
Waving Flag.
Waving Flag is his like big moment,
Big
but this is the
flag.
album before that. It is.
My man knows
It will
that.
even just that title track will knock your fucking socks
I'm
off.
gonna check it out. So yo, man, it's been a fucking absolute pleasure. We could talk for fucking hours with you. I see Chris's back's fucking dying. He's been here for fucking 8 hours. In the fucking day. I see him
Can
over
we
there,
get the man a
he's-
fucking better chair for Christ's
he's been sitting over there for a
There's
grip. I see him
sitting
going
on a
over there.
baseball bat over there.
So where? I mean, this camera right, Chris. Where can everybody find you?
I'm at Fara1, Fara1 on Twitter. Really dig Boston. Really talking joints metal, like you were saying, these are slow burners, right? So if you're watching this after January 1st, 2023, go right to talkingjointsmemo.com and you'll see this stuff there too. You'll literally see some Cannamaniacs stuff there. We'll be aggregating other people's stuff as we always do with Talking Joints Memo, because we're not arrogant enough to think that we can get to everything. But at the same time, we're gonna be doing even more stuff than we ever did when we were distributing through other channels. So check that out for sure. And dig Boston, and if you're a very wealthy person, give to Binge, BINJ, give to BINJ, binge.org.
Boom, got it. You know what it is, man. Benny, what do we think?
Well, I didn't think it was going to go like this, but yeah, this is a dope one, man. Definitely one of my favorites of the day, so yeah.
Fuck it.
This is,
How long you guys been at it?
Since about noon.
You changed your sweatshirt?
You're fourth one. 3 times, man. You know how it is. You know how I get down.
Yeah, he ain't told me anything. Like that.
You know what I mean? What you about to you're gonna learn today. You know what I mean? Fucking but you did get to wear a Super Bowl ring.
Yes.
So you know what I'm saying? So we do have some give and takes there. But Sense forever, Marty forever, Sense lives, and fuck her chilling, man. Peace.
So,